And welcome back, everyone. Now, we've already taken a look at some of the ramifications and factors in renewing your license regardless of your age, but we did want to have somebody who understands a little bit more about what's going on with it. Don Balmer, you're a teacher with the AARP, and you help out a lot of folks of a lot of different ages. Thank you for joining us about the senior driving assessment process. You know, it's a tough decision, isn't it?
It's a very tough decision because it has a lot to do with your freedom, your ability to go where you want, when you want, and so on. So it's a real tough decision.
Yeah. Now, I know that there are certain things that you ask. Is there like an actual workbook that people have that they go through and check things that they can say, okay, these are things I'm good at, things I'm not good at?
If you take the senior safe driving class, yes, there is a workbook that we talk about the changes that occur in your life as you age, and then how to compensate for some of these. And then at the end, we do have a self-evaluation program so that people can go through a list of questions, and they decide for themselves what their response is to these various questions, and then they can evaluate their own driving. I don't have anything to do with evaluating their driving. It's strictly, I give them the tools with which they can do it.
You know, I have to be honest with you, I'm looking at these questions, and these are things that we should all be asking ourselves. Things like, you know, I have trouble driving through intersections, or get nervous making left turns. That's normal, isn't it?
Well, it's normal a little bit.
A little bit,
It depends on how often this occurred. I mean, yeah, I get into a situation now and then where what's going on here? But there are times for some people that it gets to the point where it's all the time. And that's maybe when you need to start questioning things.
Now a lot of times we don't question ourselves. A lot of times it's other people who come to us and say, you know what, boy, I've noticed some things. You know, if a person sees a loved one or family member having a hard time, how can you go about getting them some help? What's the best way to handle this?
It depends a lot on the situation, but probably the best thing to do is to help them make a decision for themselves. You don't want to go to somebody and say, you got to stop driving. That's going to backfire for you. But you can ask them to look at what they're doing, how things are going for them, and try and help them to make the decision. And it could be the decision that they need to stop entirely, or they may make the decision, I need to limit my driving. Maybe I'll only drive in areas that I'm very familiar with. I'll only drive during the daylight. I won't drive in slippery weather. So there's a lot of decisions like this that they can make for themselves. And if you can help them make that type of decision, if it gets bad enough, eventually they'll probably have somebody else make the decision for them. But for the most part, I think a lot of people, if they begin to think about it, can make this decision for themselves.
It is a tough one. I know I've talked to a few people said that decision came after an accident, or unfortunately they were pulled over by a police officer, and the officers were very polite but just let them know what was going on, and that's really not the way you want to be aware that maybe you need a little bit of help. Although everybody has that happen. It's not an age thing necessarily. We want to reassure you on that. Now, if somebody does find that it's time to let go, I just can't drive anymore, I'm having a really hard time, are there resources available? How can they still maintain a little bit of independence? Is there anything they can do to still get around?
A lot of it depends on where you live. In the Marquette area, you've got taxis, you've got the bus service, things like that. If you live out in the boondocks of the county, Republic, that area, then it becomes a little more of a problem. However, the usual thing is you can depend on your friends, your family. There are, for medical appointments and things like that, the Retired Senior Volunteer Program has a program where they will take you to medical appointments, things of this nature. The other thing that you might want to keep in mind is that it doesn't hurt to give somebody a little bit of money towards their gas. And as one of my friends said when he decided he had to stop driving, he realized that if he stopped driving his car, he was saving a lot of money, and he could take a lot of taxi rides.
Carpooling makes a big difference, doesn't it? We were just talking about that last hour. Carpooling makes a big difference, especially with the gas prices. Now, Don, are there any upcoming programs? How can people get involved with the program and get registered so that they can assess where they're sitting at right now?
On the 11th and 12th, I believe it is, of May, I'm teaching a senior safe driving program through the Northern Center for Lifelong Learning, and that's the Northern Center for Lifelong Learning is part of Northern Michigan University. They can contact them and make a reservation for the class. I'm always welcome and willing to try and schedule a class. If I can get a group of people together that want a class, I'll try and put a class together. So if they can contact me, and we can see what we can set up.
All right, sounds like a deal. And maybe make it safer for everybody and make it a lot less nerve-wracking, because it is scary if you don't feel very confident. That can be very frightening for everybody. All right, well, I want to thank you very much for coming in and joining us today. We'll keep people posted on our website and both on the air about when these classes are coming in, so that folks have a safer time on the road. Thank you again for coming in and joining us.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, if you are going to be heading the roads today, you got to watch out. There is a little bit of snow and there's more coming, so we're going to hand it over to meteorologist Wesley Williams for a real quick check on what's coming up. Wesley?